Where can I find this? I can look on the old YouTubes. So, look, we seem to have this new normal out there, and it's a bifurcated normal. There's the normal that I'm experiencing here at home, in my town, in the parks. It's beautiful, beautiful days, summer, nice and wonderful weather with the dogs, the family. And then I look on the news, and all I see is chaos, riots, clashes with the police, stormtroopers everywhere. People getting arrested. And they call them protesters. They're protesting George Floyd's death, his murder. So they say. But it seems to have gone to a different level. And I look at these sort of spontaneous protests all over, and I wonder just how they all came to be. There isn't a person that I know, and maybe it's just the circles that I roam in, but I mean, I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that know a lot of people. There isn't anybody in the extended people that I know that would ever show up at one of these protests. Not in a million years. They wouldn't even think about it. It would be the furthest thing from their mind. How in the hell do you get that many people to show up to fight? To fight who? I think there's a lot more going on here than meets the reporting or the perception that somehow we're all out there. And here's the other thing. Most of these people that are out there protesting are not black. They're white. Virtually all of the Antifa people are white. I just don't get it. I don't get what is going on. I mean, dare I say that this is contrived, organized, paid for? How do you prove something like that? What is the other option? Was it really a spontaneous result that people just said, "Hey, let's leave our pandemic dwelling and go into the city and confront the police"? I'm having a hard time believing this. Also, I'm having a hard time believing that the news is reporting this still as protests and refuses to use the word riot. Now, I can see people seeing this on TV and in certain areas, in certain city enclaves, in certain, let's say, liberal city enclaves, people seeing this as an opportunity to get out there and loot. Let's join. Let's join in and get a free TV or a blender or new beddings or liquor. How many of these people that are rioting do you think that are not voting Democrat? Seriously. Maybe that's the wrong question. What would be the right question? What's the right question? Who are these people that are rioting? Who are these people that are willing to go out and cause such a ruckus? Willing to get their heads bashed in. For what? Is this how you solve such a problem? I mean, this horrendous murder by cop murdered George Floyd. Without a doubt, just a horrendous thing. I think, nobody really knows the full extent of the story yet. That has yet to come out. But is this how you solve that problem? Now, I'm just a little too young to have seen it all for myself or to understand when Martin Luther King was marching. I mean, I was a child of the 60s and 70s, but, my mind and my attention was far from any kind of civil rights actions that were going on in the world. But I don't remember or have ever read about any of MLK's movements involving rioting, looting, violence. Not a single one. Not a single instance. And yet they changed the world. Martin Luther King and the people who took up those issues, they changed the world. What is going on now? Is this the new normal? Is this the new accepted way of influencing people by brute force? Shed blood, steal people's property, loot your own neighborhood, if it is their neighborhood. I have a feeling that many of these people are actually shipped in. I don't get it. Don't get it. Am I that blind? Maybe you have a comment. Maybe you can tell me what the hell's going on. I like I said, I was out yesterday. Beautiful weather. 75, dry. Took a walk through the Ponkapog Trail. Fantastic. Around Ponkapog Pond. Nice 7-mile walk with the dogs, the wife. Saw other people. Everyone was happy. Only half the people wearing masks. And while that is happening, no more than 10 miles away, in Boston, they are rioting. Two different worlds, separated by just a small amount of roadway. Literally a 15-minute ride. Went to the store. Everyone's sort of, doing their own thing. No one, as if they're completely unaware of what's going on just 10, 12 miles away. Of course, the news is all over it. And like I said, I don't know a single person or an extended person or know a person that knows a person that in their wildest dreams would ever think of going to the riot. Like a party. Let's go to the riot. Who are these people? What makes them want to go there? What makes them want to? People disagree with government with everything that is happening the last few months. I have no idea what that fucking means. Disagree with the government? Are you fucking serious? What about the government? The government has nothing fucking to do with this. Nothing. Being black in America is a completely different experience. For who? I know many black people. They would never go to one of these things, ever. You know, I get a feeling that the people that are responding right now in the chat don't even live in the United States. They have no fucking idea what it's like to live here. They get this picture of what is happening through the media, and they think that's the way it is. And I'm telling you, it's not. What you see on TV is not happening where I live or anywhere around where I live. It's only happening in a few select cities around the country. They spontaneously popped up in a few select cities, liberal cities around the country. This is not the general outlook or feeling or mind share of people around this country. It's just not. This is this is like a stage. It is completely staged and then put on full display by the media so that the rest of the world can see how bad our government is and how racist we all are. It's bullshit. There is a bad cop. Should be tried for murder, should go to jail for the rest of his life. End of story. The fact that some people are hurting far away from where you are doesn't mean that it's not happening. I'm not suggesting that stuff doesn't happen. And when you say far away, I am literally 10 minutes away from Boston. I was no more than 5 minutes away in surrounding towns. No one had an idea that this was going on. No one talked about it. No one mentioned it. It was the furthest thing from their minds. They were just out enjoying what was happening. So I think that this is a very, very contained group of people who are just seething inside. This is all in their head, and it's being fueled by the media. I mean, because, when I watch the TV or, I talk to other people that I know that are around here, it's like surreal. It's like you're watching a movie. Two different worlds. Like I'm watching Idiocracy on TV. A complete fantasy that I do not experience anywhere else. So what's happening in the cities where there aren't riots or protesters? No, the dog coin has not yet been released. I have to fill up a webinar before I do that. So I haven't even really done the promotion. I suggested it, but I haven't done it. Sorry about that. But maybe this weekend. Um, I suggest you go there and ask protesters what they are doing. You get a way better perspective to be there for. I don't want to go there. I have no reason to go there. Yeah. These protesters are useful idiots. I don't believe that they're protesters. I believe that they're paid stooges or just idiots. Yeah, useful idiots. People that get themselves all riled up about nothing. Now, I shouldn't say that about nothing. I mean, this is a very real incident, but people who have any kind of sense of decency or logic, this is not how you solve a problem. You don't go out and destroy things. This is getting fueled by a certain group of people. These Antifa people, I mean, they are truly terrorists. They are stoking flames. I just. And it's all too convenient that this happens as the pandemic seems to be wearing off. People are going back to work. Things are getting better. Oh, yeah, I truly believe they are sponsored by George Soros. There's no doubt. The fact that this guy is allowed to peddle his influence is just unbelievable to me. This guy should be in jail, and his son. But, you know, it just seems that it's one thing after another to try to disrupt. First, we had this pandemic, right? First, we had the impeachment, right? That didn't work. Then we had the pandemic. That didn't work. Now we have riots. Of course, that's not going to work. I don't know. There's just too many of these things happening over and over. We had 2 years of them trying to bring the president down on a phony obstruction and Russia collusion charge. That didn't work. I mean, are you not seeing a pattern here? This is not the right or conservatives or libertarians out there, or even, you know, reasonable Democrats. This is not those people out there causing all of this strife. Hi. So I got to wonder, you know, what does this mean if you look at the markets? What does this mean for the markets now? Why are they behaving as if there is nothing going on? Almost as if there are no riots in the street, no protesters. Like I said, it just seems like two separate worlds. You have the world of, you know, mainstream America, you have the markets, and then you have these protests that are going on. They just seem so contained. Why are not the protests affecting the markets? Let's take a look at the markets, where they are now. So this is a 30-minute chart of the S&P 500, and well, you see all my little markings and everything. This is where I'm doing my volume profile analysis, showing where I expect the markets to move, and I am expecting a kind of a down move here, down to this value node, and then find support and perhaps move up. But in the face of all of what's happening over the past few days, from any of these arrows, I mean, this is really, this whole area where I have these arrows is where all of this strife has started. I don't see anything in the market that would suggest that there is some sort of political or social upheaval, which is very, very odd, extremely odd. I mean, how do you comport that? How do you see what's going on in the media and then apply that to the markets? Because markets are so sensitive to just about any kind of, you know, political or economic strife. Geopolitical, geomacro, domestic. I mean, super sensitive to that. Yet it's as if there's nothing happening. It's a surreal event that you literally see buildings on fire, people getting batted down by police, looting stores, yet the market has done nothing. Just going sideways. Sideways. On the verge of a breakout. So this morning we had a pattern cast macro signal. And if you haven't seen that, please go back to my my video from earlier this morning. We premiered it at 9:15, a little over an hour ago. And we're getting super strong sell signals. And these signals are typically good for the next few days. So we anticipate that there will be some movement down. In fact, I'm reflecting that in my analysis here. But we still see the market being elevated. As a matter of fact, while I've been talking about this, I can zoom in on this. While I've been talking about this, since I started this video, the market has surged up. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. Let's see. I'm going to zoom in on here. We'll just, there. I'm zooming in. So, at 9:30, this is that first green bar, and then this second green bar is where we are right now. It is now 10:39. These are 30-minute bars. So that bar will be over in a little bit. Look at that. The market has surged up. It has surged up. But, you know, this entire range is relatively small. What this is showing is a sort of a consolidation. Are we going to roll over? Is this social upheaval, unrest going to affect the market? Are we going to continue getting back to work? Is this going to disrupt the ability to get back to work? These are, I mean, I feel like I'm in, like I said, this sort of fantasy world. It's a movie that we're watching, and the score of the movie or the audience perception does not reflect what's on on the tube, on the screen. They're two different things. In other words, everyday reality is not reflecting what is being shown on the idiot tube. So I don't, I'm trying to make, a clear, cogent analysis of this. Should the market be going up, going down? I don't know. I get a feeling like I'm in this sort of fantasy world, and we're peering in on someone's fantasy, not most people's, but someone's fantasy, and that's what they're showing on the news. And then there's the rest of what's going on. All right, back to the big head. Yep, make sure you subscribe. So that's what I gotta ask. We have riots, pandemic, unemployed. How you doing? Why protest one bad apple? No. There's no doubt. There may be reason to protest, and you know, I would think that protest should have been confined to that particular city because it reflects on that city and the training that they're given for to those officers and how they're allowed to behave in that manner. I mean, why didn't any of the other officers knock that guy on his ass before he killed George Floyd? Why? I mean, I understand why someone outside of there didn't, push him off because they're afraid they'd get shot or arrested. But I don't understand why three other cops just standing around. So that reflects directly on that particular police force. Super poor control, leadership. But how does that spontaneously then, not even spontaneously, it kind of happened after the fact, and then get stoked over and over, but only in certain cities, not widespread. And obviously, starting in Minneapolis, where it happened. But then after that, just use that as kind of like a catalyst to pop up in certain cities. Yeah, and it's certainly not a protest. Banana Face says anyone can cherry pick individual behavior and spin a narrative. Easy way to be dishonest about what is happening and miss the point entirely. It's a very vague statement. Excuse me. Must be the coronavirus. But yeah, I would also say deliberately poor leadership. Deliberate, I'm going to deliberately not do my job. But to give an order to stand down for police, I mean, I couldn't imagine a more stupid way to manage a situation. But it's still, I look at the market as the great teller of truth. The market is showing no real effect. It's moving sideways. It's consolidating. It's not pulling back. It's not reflecting a disruption to the perception of what is going to happen in the future, because the market is a future discounting mechanism. So the market is telling me that it don't believe any of this bullshit. This is about disparity of wealth. Are you fucking kidding me? That is. I'm sorry. I don't believe that at all. It's not about the disparity of wealth. I mean, right now everyone is hurting. Well, a lot of people are hurting. I mean, there's 40 million people out of work. And I even, got to wonder about that. Not everybody is really hurting. I mean, a lot of people are on unemployment and they're actually making more money than they had if they were at work. And they're getting a free vacation. I mean, I guess they would rather be at work. Some people I know don't want to go back to work. Namely my kids. Well, actually, they are back to work, but they know people. Or they were even presented with the option. Make more on unemployment than in their job. But this is not the disparity between wealth of the disparity of wealth by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, when General Soleimani was killed, nothing happened in the markets. But that is, I mean, from our point of view, that was like a win, right? That's all that was. I mean, I don't know what type of disruption in the market you would have expected to see. I mean, even the oil prices, I mean, they didn't really change that much, and that's mostly because of the independence that we now have with oil. But Daniel, I agree 100%. This smells of a setup. It smells that it is contrived, that it is staged, that it is all these protesters are shipped in, paid for, or they've got some message. How do you prove that? I mean, we've seen evidence of these type of things. I mean, they literally advertise for these indigents in things like Craigslist. And they often show up in caravans of buses. Now, I don't know if that's the truth here. No one's reporting on it. Most people are at home not able to report on it. But that's been the truth in the past. But isn't it interesting that the market still is bullish? It appears to be bullish. Now, like I said, we had a sell signal here, but to me, this market looks like it wants to break out. It looks like it really wants to break out. Banana Face says, so you deny the conditions for this to happen even exist? Um, yeah, I do. Absolutely. I think that there are certain types in certain cities that you can very easily rile up, and once they get into this sort of mob mentality that they can do this. But this is being led by a group. This is not happening spontaneously. This is happening because of the action of a very few leftists, not Democrats, leftists, particularly the Antifa type. Absolutely, 1,000%. Yeah, I know. Cuomo's blaming everybody but himself. That's the other thing. Have you noticed that the highest percentage of deaths and coronavirus cases are exclusively in blue states? That's just a fact. Banana Face says you need to pop out of your bubble. Many people grow up in third world conditions, surrounded by violence, poverty, drug abuse, and broken families. As if I didn't know that. Very well aware of those conditions, but they aren't third world. That's total bullshit. There are people that struggle everywhere, but they are not third world in this country. Our poorest are doing way better than most third world countries. They are entitled. Everybody has a small percentage of their people that are not doing well, and a lot of them are a product of our social systems that we've set up. The entitlements. But the market's still surging up. It's still surging. The same happened in Chile some months ago. Organized paid left groups to unstabilize the government. Yeah. I believe that's what it is. It is definitely of the organized nature. So I look at Apple News. Apple News is included on every Macintosh. Let's see here. It's an aggregator that they put on your desktop. Let's take a look at that. See what the big stories are. Top stories: mayhem and clashes with police mark sixth night of protest. Rallies could cause catastrophic setback to controlling coronavirus, experts say. Imagine that. We don't hear anything from Joe Biden. Trauma and gaffes crash Biden's VP selection process. Biden notches 10-point lead over Trump in general election matchup. Who the hell believes that? Really, who believes that Biden has any chance in hell of winning? Yet the polls show he has a 10-point lead against Trump. If the election were held right now, I guarantee you it would be a monumental landslide. Daniel says the reason it's concentrated areas is because they have large Chinese communities. I'm not sure I understand that. Could you explain the macro signal for today? Yeah, the macro signal today is a continuation of fewer and fewer buy signals that we're getting across the gamut of hundreds of assets or stocks that we scan. All right, so the pattern recognition technology looks over hundreds and hundreds of stocks, and the macro signal is essentially an aggregate of the number of buy signals or the lack of buy signals that we have, and or sell signals. So it is a tipping of that wave of these signals across all these hundreds of assets. So there are fewer and fewer and fewer opportunities. And as a matter of fact, right now, that aggregate number is the lowest it's been in a long time. And every time that we see a low number like that, for us, that is a market sell. So Daniel continues. So when they had the Chinese New Year and people traveled to these communities to see families, they spread it into those communities. Oh, I don't know. That was a while ago. That was near the beginning of the year. Soros shorted the market. Of course he did, you know? Send out his minions, cause riots and and pandemonium, and short the market. Wouldn't it be a great surprise if the market just took off? That's what we need to see. Yeah. So where are we with all of this? We have a pandemic. We're trying to get people back to work. Riots flare up. Why would riots? I mean, I can understand the strife and the bewilderment. I mean, I felt it myself when I saw this police officer murdering George Floyd. It sickened me. I thought to myself, this man should be arrested immediately. Why didn't anybody stop him? They should arrest the cops around him. Period. All right. We take care of that. We figure out what the problem was. Now, I understand that there's a backstory to this, too. So we don't know all the information. That doesn't change what happened, but we understand that both Floyd and the officer worked overlapping shifts at the same nightclub as security guards. So they actually knew each other. Does that have anything to do with this? I don't know. Could have been personal. I don't know. Was it race charged? Don't know. Of course, that's what everybody assumes, and that's what the media will get the most bang for their buck, the most eyeballs by pushing that narrative. So it was perfect. Right? we still don't know the whole story. Not that it matters anymore. It's already blown up to the level it has. Now, with the media continuing to talk about Floyd, and about that particular case, that's what is being lost in all of this. It's turned into something completely different. It's turned into riots. Yeah, Adam, that's exactly what I'm just saying, Adam. Sorry, but this is now bigger than George Floyd. Uh, yeah, I get that. It's bigger only because of the calamity that has resulted from it. And I question whether or not its bigness was caused by George Floyd. I think that it was stoked by others who could give a shit about George Floyd. It was stoked by other people that wanted to use this incident to create a bigger crisis. As a as a governor of a state, why would you allow people to just run rampant and have police stand down? Where in the holy hell does that idea sound like a good idea? I mean, it simply isn't. All right. I've gone on way too far about this. I think the biggest thing to take away from this, at least from my point of view, is the disparity between what appears to be a huge social unrest and the complete ambivalence, if not the thumbing in the eye of that unrest by the market. Now that speaks more volume than the protest itself to me. It is saying that the market, which is the collective consciousness of millions of people, doesn't think that this is real, and neither do I. Neither do I. Thank you, and we'll see you next video.